Jimmy, great to see you, buddy.
What's up, Tommy? How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much. I know how busy you are, crazy with all the different restaurants, but let's start right from the beginning. Your family has had a long storied history here in Chicago, so tell us a little bit about that.
You know, I'm a third-generation restaurateur. On my dad's side, my dad was second, of course. His mother took over her brother's restaurants in the 30s. They got deported back to Greece, and so she took it over. My grandfather was a fruit peddler, and he didn't want anything to do with the restaurant business, so she took it over. And especially in the 30s, that was pretty special to have a woman, you know, running a business. And then on my mom's side, it was her father had a restaurant in Cicero, Illinois, where it was kind of you know, Al Capone era, and he had a little snack shop, and between this kind of steel door and you go through another steel door, and they have this kind of gambling and craziness, you know, so it was pretty nuts.
Great.
You know.
So then you have the clarity to open a restaurant on the 7th floor of a building in downtown. Now, who does that?
Yeah, well, the only crazy people, you know, because I like odd locations, you know. So my first restaurant, of course, 7 on 7's on the 7th floor, and which is 30 years old, which I cannot believe it. We just celebrated our 30th this year, and going strong. I just bought that location. The place just went. The building went condominium, office condominium, so now I own like that piece of property in the downtown Chicago, which I'm really excited about. And I get passed that along to my kids, who are my son's 4th generation. And then you know, the one on this one on Russian, Ohio's, you know, 2nd floor location. So when I finally open something on the 1st floor, everybody's like, "What's going on? Are you feeling all right?" You know, so.
Well, perhaps it's maturity.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Or making it easier for
making
yourself.
Making it easier,
at this
I
point.
think. Yeah, so I get on my car and I could just walk in instead of going up.
But, you know, I remember when I first got to Chicago, and I would come off that elevator, and there'd be a line of people in that hallway waiting to get in.
Right.
You know, what I didn't understand, people are working in office buildings typically don't have long lunch breaks, but they would wait to get in Heaven on 7 for sure.
You know, if we always said if you have an hour, 45 minutes to an hour for lunch, you will be in and out in an hour's time. Okay. And we used to do, back in the day, anywhere between 600 and 800 people a day. And that was between 11 o'clock to about 2:30. And it was insane. So as soon as you'd be halfway done with your gumbo, your entree would come. So it was, you know, it was no messing around. It was myself in the kitchen, my dad, we had 2 other guys, and my brother and my mom were in the front of the house.
And your wife Anne Marie at the
register. She came after the kids were born, and she needed to get out of the house, so she came in, you know, 1 day a week, and then when they were in kindergarten, then it was like 2 days a week, and once they were a little bit older, she worked a little bit more, so it's good.
Well, you know, one of the things I'm doing in this show is really trying to give people greater understanding of what really happens in the restaurants. You and I have had some great conversation over the years of some of the frustrations with the critics.
Right.
And while there are some good ones, right, many of them, I think, completely misunderstand what it is we do.
Right.
And one thing that I'd like you to touch on, you know, we always talked about having the critics review the concept within the context with which it operates.
Right.
Right. And what I mean by that is, so a fine dining restaurant, because you spend a lot of money for table linens, crystal, china, you should then be evaluated within that 4-star category.
Right.
How good are you?
Exactly.
You know, and if you're a 1-star or a 2-star, so share some of those thoughts with us about that.
Well, I think, and we've always felt this also, because we're not a white tablecloth restaurant, we can very seldom get 3 stars. Which it's bullshit, because you should, like you said, if you have fine dining or white tablecloth restaurants, they should be put in this category. If you're a casual restaurant, you should still be able to get 4 stars. That would be in your category.
That makes a lot of sense.
And you know, I think critics in general, I think it should be a 5-year run, and that's it. And then they can come back after the second 5 years. You know, 5 years, they're off, let them do something else, even go to another newspaper, I don't care, and then somebody goes 5 years and they could go back to that spot. Keeps them fresh, keeps them with it, and see what's going on. A lot of times, for us that we've seen, you know, a lot of these guys are, you know, they're thinking a little bit different, a little bit older. You know, so if you go into a different place, maybe they don't understand the cuisine, maybe it's a little bit too hip for them, maybe it's a little bit too noisy for them, so it could be a problem.
Yeah, and I've always wondered why there aren't more people who have worked in the business who are critics.
Right.
You know, because to have someone, you know, I was talking to Donnie and Paul about this not too long ago, that if you haven't walked in our shoes, it's very difficult for you to really talk intelligently about all the different facets of the business if you haven't done it.
Right.
Now you may be able to write a great paragraph. You may have learned something over the years on a surface level about what we do. You know, but I would have loved to have seen Gordon Sinclair be a, you know, as someone who many of us grew up in his restaurants.
Right.
You know, but people who've worked the business, I think, could give better insight to what's really happening. And I think until they embrace that idea, I think they'll always have a tremendous distance in their ability to accurately tell us, you know, what's actually happening.
Well, there's that gap, you know, and so you have, that's like Time Out magazine, for instance, in Chicago. They're younger, they have a younger point of view compared to, you know, the Chicago Trib, and I love Phil Vitale, I think he does great, but sometimes, and Pat Bruno, but sometimes it's kind of like totally different. Like at other place where we have, you know, at the Purple Pig where we have the communal tables, they don't like the communal tables.
Right.
You know,
but that's the concept. I mean,
right.
the idea is that you are there to share, perhaps actually meet your neighbors and have some fun. And it's something that they've been doing in Europe for hundreds of years, very successfully.
And I believe that if you, and I know it's a critic's duty to kind of give the truth, but you know what? I'm spending $1 million on my restaurant, anywhere between $500,000 and $1 million and up. If they don't like it, I think they should basically not say anything about it. If the food's not good, the service is not good, I'm going to close. It's not going to work. So I don't need anybody else giving a critique that might be critical and detrimental to what we're doing. It's like, hey, you know what? Or give a courtesy call. Say, listen, we were going to review your restaurant. Things aren't up to par. We'll give you a re-review in 6 months, and then maybe fine, then go through with it.
But you know, part of being a professional is being able to separate what you like and still be able to appreciate the quality of that execution. You know, there are some grape varietals that aren't my favorite, but I still need, as a professional, to be able to understand the quality of execution of that varietal in that terroir and make an accurate assessment for other people.
Right.
It's not a question of whether I like it. It's a function of my degree of professionalism to what degree I can articulate how well that's made.
Right.
And that's a totally different statement than what's happening in the industry.
Yeah.
So you and I have never spent this amount of time without some food and a little something to enjoy. Let's do some gumbo.
Perfect.
Let's have a beverage, and let's go check out what
Sounds
you're
good.
doing. All right,
Let's
buddy?
do it.
Always good
Awesome.
to see you.
Brother.
Thank you.